Hi guys, how are you all doing? I hope you guys are all ready for the for my video, the clay court season preview 2022, guys. Are you ready to talk about what's going to happen on the red dirt, or some call it the crushed brick? The Just a second, guys. Yeah, some call it the crushed brick, some call it the red dirt. Um, it's called clay. It's actually not clay, to let you know. It is the crushed brick. They make clay from the bricks, red bricks, and they crush it into little pieces that way, because dirt is more of a fine type of substance, right? But if you get rougher brick and you break it down into little pieces, um, the hardness and the roughness of those broken little rough pieces is what causes friction and slows down the ball, right? But if you had dirt, it would be more fine, just pieces of dirt and softer and not as rough and hard. But the little pieces of brick are very broken down, very rough, very hard, very causing friction. Anyway, they slow down the ball, and then they use limestone actually under the broken down bits of brick and other stones. So that's where you get the hardness from the high bounce. And also when you get a rough surface, what happens is it causes friction, slows down the ball. So all the pace of the ball can't go forward, so it wants to go up. And then when you have a hard, sort of a limestone surface below it to bounce off something hard to go up, so there you go. That's where we get this type of a surface, slow and higher bouncing. It's called clay, but it's actually broken down pieces of brick, and many of them. And that's creating a sort of a reddish sort of dust over the top of limestone and a whole lot of other rocks. So anyway, guys, are you ready for the 2022 clay court season or the 2022 broken down pieces of brick season? Whatever you want to call it, guys. Before I get into what's going to happen though on this clay court season, clay that's not actually clay, I'll just say I didn't do a review video of the Miami final, and I'll only just talk about it for 20 seconds if you're interested in the clay court season. Um, what happened in this match was, like I said, both of them, Rudd and Casper Rudd and Alcaraz, they're both great defenders. They're both consistent ralliers with great shot tolerance. Both have a huge forehand to finish off points. But Alcaraz, I believe, now has a bit better forehand because a few forehand to forehand matchups where they were going against each other, he out hit Casper Rudd. But the main thing was they matched up pretty equally on shot tolerance, rallying, defense, power on the forehand to finish points. But the difference was Alcaraz had power on the backhand and the forehand to finish points, whereas Rudd only had power on the forehand to finish points. So he gave so many options for Alcaraz, forehand to backhand, to Rudd's backhand. He can overpower him. He can win backhand to backhand. And in all Rudd's areas, defense, consistency, power on the forehand, he has all that. But he has a backhand with power to finish points, which Rudd doesn't have. So that's what caused him to be a bit better in both sets and win in straight sets. But anyway, that's not what the video is about. It's about the clay court season 2022, and that's what I intend to talk about, guys. So, what we've got this clay court season, we've got a 500 in Barcelona in the 17th to 24th of April. And we've got three Masters of the 1,000, the first of which being Monte Carlo next week, starting in about 4 days from now, Monday, right? The 10th to the 17th of April. First week of May, we've got the Madrid Masters of 1,000. Second week of May, we've got the Rome Masters of 1,000, right? Then on the 22nd of May to the 5th of June, we've got the French Open. So that's the last clay court tournament, the Grand Slam on clay. So we've got Barcelona late April, early to mid-April, Masters of 1000 Monte Carlo, first week of May, Madrid, second week of May, Rome, late May, early June, French Open, many other 250s. The clay court season actually started a few days ago. We've got two 250s coming up this week. Well, they're actually on at the moment. The US Clay Court Championships in Houston, Texas, in the USA. And there's one I think it's called Marrakesh. I'm not sure, but I know it's in Morocco. That's going on now. But those are 250s. Your first important clay court tournament coming up will be in about this coming Monday, the Monte Carlo Masters of 1000, right? So when you think about Monte Carlo Masters of 1000, Madrid, Rome, and then the French Open, the Grand Slam, and then Barcelona and all these 250s, what's going to happen in these next 2 months? It started a few days ago. It's going to end in about 2 months on the 5th of June for the French Open final. That will be the last day of the clay court season, but we'll be there for the next 2 months on clay. And I just want to talk about with you guys what you can expect to happen, players to look out for in all these tournaments. But since we're starting now and we've got 2 months of clay court season, guys, I want to go through it all, the players, who's going to go well, who this surface suits, right? First of all, what I would say to you guys is that, Nadal does it every year, right? But before we get into him, right? I think when you go looking at, originally I looked at it like this. Nadal was 20-0 on hard courts, right? He's never won 20 out of 20 all on non-clay matches, hard courts or grass. But this year he did. So he's been the best he's ever been on a hard court or a grass court. So now you're going to bring this level that won the Australian Open, went 20-0 before the injury, that was already close to unbeatable on hard courts. You're going to bring him on clay. So that's where we sort of start the idea of what to expect here. He's the guy to beat. Even if he's not doing well, even if he's having a bad year, you move to clay, he becomes unbeatable. But when he's 20-0 on hard courts, and then he goes to clay, very difficult to beat the guy, right? And originally I said he's in his best position, being 20 wins, 0 losses on hard court, to now come to clay and be unbeatable when he can be unbeatable when he's not doing well on hard court, right? But then when I look at his opposition, if he's at his best state, because he was 20 out of 20 on hard courts before we get to clay, how are his opponents going leading into this, right? Well, you look at it, there's Djokovic. He didn't play since December last year. So it's been 4.5 months. He's played 3 matches in Dubai. So for him, he's got to come back from 4.5 months out of the game. He's got to come back from those 4 months out of the game and do it right out of the gates on his worst surface, clay. Definitely hard courts and grass are better for Djokovic. So 4.5 months out of the game, it's hard to come back on any surface. Coming back on your worst surface, even harder. So I just really think it's going to be tough for Djokovic, right? But he could do it. I'm not saying not, but I'm like the combination of this is your worst surface, and you've been out for over 4 months together. I just don't. And then no Marion Vida. First time he doesn't have Vida for years. Last time Djokovic didn't have Vida, he went terribly. But then when you got a perfect storm, out for 4.5 months, trying to come back from the 4.5 months on your worst surface, right? Then no coach, no Marion Vida there also. So whereas Nadal, the opposite is true. 20 out of 20 on his worst surface, well, one of his worst, hard courts now going to his best surface, clay. So that's how I sort of summarize what to look forward to. But I'm not saying like Nadal's injured. You never know. He could get injured again. He could not recover. Djokovic could prove us all wrong. He could say, I can come back from these 4 months out of the game and do it on my worst surface. Look, Nadal was out for 6 months, came into his worst Grand Slam, the Australian Open, won it. So who's to say Djokovic can't come from months out of the game and win on his worst surface, clay? He could, but I'm saying the chances are higher for Nadal on clay, no matter how he's playing, because he's just unbeatable. But when he was 20 out of 20 on hard courts before we get to clay, then it's a lot more harder than it would normally be. And then with your competitor out for 4 months, trying to do it on their worst surface, that's not the ideal situation for them, right? Then what about Dominic Thiem? He's another big guy to challenge Nadal, right? Thiem has been out since June last year, so we're in April, 10 months. Now, like, the clay court season is only 2 months. Is it likely in Thiem's comeback in his first 2 months back into tennis after being out of the game for 10 months? Is he likely to peak and reach his absolute best level in his first 2 months, of tournament tennis after being out for 10 months? My opinion is I think if he's been out for 10 months, his first 2 months, it's just going to be a little bit difficult for Dominic Thiem. He might reach a decent level, but challenging Nadal, even maybe Djokovic, to win a Grand Slam and win Masters of 1000, I don't see him get to that absolute high level. Maybe later, maybe at the US Open, but not in his first 2 months after 10 months out of the game. So then Djokovic is in a bad situation. So is Thiem. The next best player on clay, the fourth best, I would say, would be Stefanos Tsitsipas. I mean, he won Monte Carlo last year. He made the French Open final. He was in the fifth set of the French Open final. 2 sets to love up, 1 set away from winning the French Open. So even though he's great on clay, there's an issue again, his form. So he's not injured and coming back on his worst surface like Djokovic. This is his best surface, and he's been playing, right? He's not like Thiem, 10 months out of the game, he's been playing. His problem is he's in his worst possible form on hard court. So yes, he plays better tennis on a clay court, but is the surface change going to be enough to bring him from his absolute worst level at an embarrassingly low level to actually unbeatable, to be winning Masters of 1000, to beating people like Nadal and Djokovic? Is moving him onto the clay courts, his best surface, going to transform his form so much from his worst level to his best level? I say no. Considering both Nadal and Tsitsipas love clay, but considering Nadal was even better than him on clay at a normal time, and considering Nadal was 20 out of 20 on a hard court, whereas Tsitsipas was losing early in tournaments on a hard court, Nadal's level on a hard court leading into the clay court season is well above Tsitsipas, right? And then Nadal is more advantaged by playing on clay court. When they're both at their best on clay in past years, Nadal's best on clay is better than Tsitsipas's best. So the moving to clay, if anything, an advantage to Nadal more than Tsitsipas. But the form leading up to the clay on hard court, Nadal's playing way, way better. So I just see like Nadal at his best on hard court, moving to his best surface clay. Tsitsipas is out of form. Changing the surface to clay won't be enough to beat Nadal, who's even better than him on clay and's been better this year on hard court. Thiem, he won't get his best level first 2 months of 10 months out of the game. And then you got Djokovic with Marion Vida not there, with 4 months out of the game, and trying to find his form after 4 months out of the game and find it on his worst surface without Marion Vida. That's very difficult. But Nadal, 20 out of 20 on hard court, going to clay. The injury is the only problem. So I think Nadal's opponents are at their worst state he could hope for, and he's at the best state he could hope for. But then the injury has come up, so we don't know now. We don't know how that'll affect. But the injury was meant to be 4 to 6 weeks out of the game for Rafael Nadal, right, guys? 4 to 6 weeks. So if it's 4 weeks, he's just going to miss Monte Carlo. He'll play the 500 in Barcelona. Then you have a week off. He'll play the Masters of 1000 in Madrid. Then the following week, the Masters of 1000 in Rome. Then the week off, then the French Open, right? So I see like that 1 week at the start, that's the first tournament of the clay court season, that's so far away from the French Open. If that's all he's missing, really, the predictions are the same. He's at his best. His opponents are vulnerable at their weakest. So that's sort of how I see it. If it's 6 weeks, then it's Madrid, Rome. Like, what could actually happen if that happened is, right? He could be a bit underdone for Madrid and Rome. He could not play his best in Madrid and Rome, but playing Madrid and Rome itself, he'll find form so he can play his best in the French Open, right? He won't be tired and exhausted and physically run down because he's only played Madrid and Rome and had all this time off, right? But he also won't be underdone because he played a lot at the start of the season. Then it's only 6 weeks off. Then it's Madrid and Rome to get back your form. So then he should be ready to peak at the French Open, but not be physically tired and exhausted and run down at the end of a long clay court season. So it could be more fresher than normal, but not underdone because, like I said, it's only 6 weeks off. It's tournaments before then. It's winning a Grand Slam, and then it's Madrid and Rome. So he still could peak. And then the other thing is, he won't be that tired and run down after the French Open like he is at the end of a normal clay court season. So Nadal could actually be fresh for Wimbledon, to prepare for Wimbledon on grass, to play a grass tournament, and still fresh to throw Wimbledon. It's that whole 2-month grind of a clay court season. To play on grass, he needs to be fresh to put in the time on grass because he's not naturally good at it. So put the time on grass to practice, become good at it, and then still have the energy to get through the 2 weeks of Wimbledon. That's hard after a 2-month clay court season to do that physically. But if you've been out for all these weeks, you play Madrid, Rome, French Open, you could be fresh, but yet match fit at the French Open, and same for Wimbledon because you're much fresher because you haven't had the long clay court season. Anyway, this is about not grass. We'll go on to that later, but it could help him for that. And it also could help him where for the French Open, he's fresh, but he's not underdone because it's only 6 weeks off and he's got Madrid and Rome to find his game. And he's played a lot at the start of the year. He's rested. He's had the 6 weeks off. He plays the 2 tournaments. He gets back his match fitness. He's got perfect match fitness, really ready to go, but at the same time fresh because it's not the end of a long play season, and fresher for Wimbledon, right? So it could be a huge advantage for Rafael Nadal anyway if that does happen. But as far as the French Open alone, I think he would be better off if he could play Barcelona, Madrid, and Rome and then really peak for the French Open. But for Wimbledon, he would probably be better off to miss Barcelona, get your game back in Madrid and Rome, and then maybe have your peak starting at the French Open, moving on to Wimbledon, right? So it just depends if your focus is the French Open or both French and Wimbledon, right? But I think if it's the French, you're better off playing Barcelona, and then maybe you can get on a dominant run and confidence and back on that 20-game run. But even better because this is now on a clay court. So that's what I would think about that. Also, who else is there, right? Carlos Alcaraz, guys. Now, I think we could be surprised by this. Like I said, most of Nadal's opponents are not in a good state. Djokovic out so long, coming back on his worst surface. No Vida. Thiem, 10 months out of the game. Tsitsipas, not good form. But Alcaraz is in good form, right? And for him, it's almost like a perfect storm for him to catch fire here too. When you've just won your first Masters 1,000, you've won it on a hard court that's not your ideal surface, but now you're starting the next 2 months on your best surface, right? Alcaraz, I mean, one thing is if he didn't win on hard court and waited to clay and won, that would be good also. But to know that you've won on hard court and it's the last hard court tournament for many months. So now you go into the clay court season feeling like you've won a tournament on a surface that's not your ideal surface. Then you get to play on a surface that is your ideal surface, right? So I really think, considering that Alcaraz is at such a high level, he can win on hard courts. And now from that point of confidence, He gets to play 2 months on his best surface. We could see an amazing clay court season for Carlos Alcaraz, right? He could win a 500 like a Barcelona. He could win a Masters 1000, maybe Madrid, because maybe Nadal's just coming back and Nadal won't play his best. He could even make a quarterfinal, semi-final at the French, right? But when it comes to like winning a Grand Slam final against a guy like Nadal or Djokovic, I see it being good, but not that good. I see him winning maybe one 500 plus a Masters 1000 plus maybe a French Open semi-final. That would definitely be feasible considering clay's his best surface. He's already won on hard court. But remember, he won on hard court with no Nadal, no Djokovic. This is best of five. Nadal and Djokovic wanting this Grand Slam record. They're going to do everything to get it. He doesn't have the experience of going deep in a Grand Slam final. So I think as far as making a quarterfinal or semi-final, if he gets really lucky, a final, but winning the French, for me, that's off the table. But I do say Alcaraz gets possibly a Masters 1000 or a 500 or both and gets a quarterfinal, semi-final in the French Open. I really see him doing well. So that's Alcaraz. Medvedev's announced he's getting surgery. So he's either going to miss the whole clay season and not be a factor, or come back and only play the French Open or the French Open plus Rome, something like that. And considering he's going to miss most of the clay court season, he's not good on clay anyway. He's not going to have a chance to practice on clay. I don't really see him winning any matches at all. Maybe getting past the first round, going out in the second round in the French Open. That's what I see for Medvedev. But I think Nadal's clay court season, what I would guess, right? If he comes back just in time for Madrid, his first tournament back after 6 weeks, will he be at his best in his first week after 6 weeks out of the game? No, is the answer. But I think he'll use Madrid to warm up. He'll get halfway to his best, but because he's not at his absolute best, because he's just coming back, and because Madrid is his worst clay court tournament, he won't be ready to win. But I see him warmed up by Rome. I see him winning Rome, losing at Madrid, winning Rome, and winning the French Open. That's my prediction for Nadal. He will take out Rome plus the French Open. And if he plays in Barcelona because he's so good there, because it's a weaker field, he's got about a 60-70% chance of winning that. But whether he comes back at Barcelona or Madrid, I see him winning Barcelona maybe 50-50 if he's there. If he's there, there's a 50% chance. If he's not, obviously he doesn't win it. But regardless of whether he plays Barcelona, I don't see him winning Madrid. And regardless of whether he plays Barcelona, I see him winning Rome plus the French Open. Djokovic could very well be in a French Open final and lose to Nadal. He could very well win Madrid and maybe even Monte Carlo. It could be an interesting match in Monte Carlo between Djokovic and Alcaraz. How would Djokovic go against an on-fire Alcaraz winning it on a hard court, now even better on a clay court, and Djokovic, it's his first tournament in 4 months on his worst surface. Maybe Alcaraz goes in as favourite. But Djokovic definitely has a chance without Nadal to get Monte Carlo, even though it's going to be very hard because he will be his absolute worst level, first week back, 4 months out of the game. But he has a chance, but more realistically, I see him, possibly winning Madrid and possibly being in a French Open final and losing to Nadal. Maybe losing to Nadal in also a Rome final. So that's what I see for him. Tsitsipas has been playing terrible, but he's going to his best surface. How much better will he be? I don't know. I'm going to have to see Monte Carlo. He might be making quarterfinals, semifinals, not quite there to win it. I think Thiem will reach a decent level, but not quite enough. Like I said, 2 months is not enough after 10 months to be his best, but he might still reach a decent level, being quarterfinals, semifinals. I said Medvedev's going to go out early, but that's how I see. I've said what I think Nadal will do, what I think Djokovic, what I think Thiem, Tsitsipas, and Alcaraz. I think those are the 5 guys that can win tournaments on clay. Probably the 6th guy would be Zverev. Zverev is good on clay. I know he's won the Rome Masters. He was at the semi-finals of the French, We could see maybe also he won Madrid last year. So he could also I mean, because Nadal's not great at Madrid, that's the one tournament anyone would have a chance. So Alcaraz has a shot, Djokovic has a shot, Tsitsipas, and then I would give Zverev also a shot of defending his title there, right? And the rest of them, like Rome, I think he can be in a quarterfinal, semi-final. Maybe if he's really lucky, a final. The French Open, he should be at a quarterfinal, semi-final. If he's really lucky, a final. But I think a lot of quarterfinals, semi-finals through uh, the clay court season for Zverev with possibly a Madrid title, but he's going to have to battle it out with Alcaraz and Djokovic. I think that Nadal won't be quite there to win that, but I think Nadal will peak for Rome and win Rome plus the French Open. And I think he could beat Djokovic in both finals, perhaps in Rome plus the French Open, but he could be having great battles with Alcaraz too. So there's so many options, so many things that can happen this clay court season. But that's my prediction, guys. That's what I think is going to happen. I've went over the top 6 guys, like top 7 actually. I've went over Nadal. I think he's the favorite to win the French Open in Rome. I think Djokovic is second favorite to do big things. I would actually say Alcaraz, in my opinion, is the third favourite to win the French Open and win the big tournaments like Rome. With Nadal first, Djokovic second, and I would say Alcaraz winning a hard court Masters of 1000, going to his best surface. I would give him the third favourite, right? And then behind that, I would give fourth to Tsitsipas, slightly behind Djokovic, slightly behind Alcaraz, but only just, right? Only just. Because Alcaraz is on fire and he's won on hard court, he's going to clay where it'll be better. And Tsitsipas is been playing terrible. And Alcaraz actually beat Tsitsipas even on a hard court. So I would put Alcaraz third ahead, Tsitsipas fourth. Zverev I would actually give fifth. Because like I said, he's a top 5 player. He likes clay. He's good on clay. He's going to be battling it out in quarterfinals, semifinals, right? And then maybe Thiem could reach the 6th best, but like I said, he would usually be the second favourite behind Nadal when he's there playing all the time. But 10 months out of the game, first 2 months back, I don't think he'll have enough time to reach his best, right? And then I'm not going to say Medvedev will be 7th. I'll say he's going to be one of the bottom of the pack, right? We could see players like Fognini. Stan Wawrinka is also coming back. He's trying to time his run from the clay court season. But again, the same problem with Thiem, right? He's got a year out of the game. So yes, like Thiem, you're coming back and playing on your best surface, right? But at this age, in your mid-30s, trying to come back with a year out of the game, even if the surface is your best surface, I just think it's too hard to find your best level tennis within the first 2 months in your comeback after being 10 months out of the game. 10 months out of the game is too long, but the deadline of finding your best tennis in the first 2 months after 10 months out of the game, even on your best surface, too much for Stan, but he could be the 7th best achiever. So I'm saying the best achiever is Nadal, second Djokovic, third is Alcaraz, fourth is Tsitsipas, fifth is Zverev, the 6th best achiever I would give would be Thiem, and the 7th best would be Wawrinka. I could maybe give 8 for Medvedev, but I don't even know if you win matches. So if you want to say they're my clay court power rankings or French Open power rankings, whatever you want to call it, but that's what I'm saying for the whole clay court season. But I'm predicting Nadal will be victorious. He's going to take Rome, the French Open. And if he goes into Barcelona 50-50 chance, he won't win Madrid. And then Djokovic and Alcaraz and Tsitsipas and Zverev, they've all got a chance at Madrid. But yeah, it's going to be a good clay court season. That's my thoughts on it. So guys, that's my video for today. Subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. Have a great day, night, wherever you are in the world. But please subscribe, guys. I'm going to be doing preview videos, semi-final, final, pre-tournament previews on definitely definitely Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros, the French Open. Possibly the Serbia tournament, because Djokovic is going to be there. So subscribe for all this great content, guys. But be back, guys. For my next video, I'll be previewing on Monday the Monte Carlo Masters 1000. I'll be giving you a tournament preview just for that tournament, and that'll be on Monday, guys. On Monday. So come back on Monday to see my preview of the Monte Carlo Masters 1000. But so much great content. Subscribe, bell notification, thumbs up. You're going to love your subscription. Bye for now, guys. See you guys later. Thanks for being with me. Hope to see you on Monday, and bye for now.